What is going on, guys, and welcome to a new video. Today we have another budget boss guide for you. Now obviously with the Carabat guides I did one for each individual style. This one is a slight different take on the budget boss guide, as I found that a hybrid of magic and range actually worked quite nicely for an entry-level boss fight. Obviously it is a little bit more expensive having to have both of the combat styles. But yeah, so we're going to be using very similar setups to the Carapat guide. So we've got the tier 85 Cyware Wand and Orb as main weapons with Ganodermic, and then we've got the Pernix armor with the chaotic crossbows and also some mechanized chimchompers for the range switches. Now I'm not going to go through all of the items that I'm going to be using. That'll be down in the description in a spreadsheet. So feel free to go through that and just check every single item that I will be using in the guide. And yeah, obviously just a couple of things to know about this guy. Like, this is a very dynamic boss fight. It's very different to a normal boss fight in terms of how you can plan your rotations. Like, it's not going to be as linear as, you know, do this on this phase and this phase and this phase. So I'm going to try and approach this from a scenario based approach, which is where I will give you some tips on the most difficult scenarios that you'll find yourself in. So for example, back-to-back cannon, how to deal with that without, you know, dying or have to eat too much food, and also I will do a walkthrough of a full kill as well, so that you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing in a full kill. But obviously those kills are going to vary when you do them yourselves. The enrage that we'll be doing this at is 500%, and the reason that I picked that enrage was because I thought it was a good enrage to go for, because it's, you know, the Iceborne title unlock. So yeah, nice little achievement if you can do that in this kind of gear. So I just want to touch on a couple of things before we jump into the guides. The first thing is that if you're kind of totally new to the boss and don't have an idea what any of the mechanics are, then this isn't the guide for you. This is more looking at rotations to actually deal with the mechanics and get through the kill. There is some knowledge expected for this guide. For example, having maybe done some normal mode kills, having seen what the mechanics are like and know roughly what to expect in terms of when you're entering a hard mode fight. If you've never done a kill before, I would recommend going to the normal mode first. Like, you obviously have to kill one normal mode before you can even try hard mode, but I actually did 100 normal mode kills before I even touched hard mode. So, and it really helped me kind of understand a little bit better the mechanics, know when and when not to DPS, because it was likely to be like a minion spawn and I don't want to waste certain specs and abilities and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you don't have to do as many as 100, but definitely, you know, 20, 30, 40 kills. It's a couple of hours of your time, and it will really help you in your hard mode kind of pushing. Just one more thing that I need to go over quickly is that you'll see here that my ability bar changes when I change between weapons. That's going to be important for hybriding, because obviously you don't want to have to change ability bars as well. So this is an inbuilt setting into the game for those that you don't know. So if you go to settings and then to gameplay, and then combat and action bars, and then action bar binding. Basically here you can select, when changing weapons, any specified action bar will go to the preset of your choice. So I've got it set, so magic dual wield goes to action bar 1, and range dual wield goes to action bar 2. So you're going to need to set that up in order to make that nice and easy in terms of action bar switching. Okay, so the first mechanic we're going to talk about is the frost cannon attack, and you will know that this attack is coming when the creeping ice comes from the right hand side. When it starts from the right hand side, it's always going to push you into this formation here, which is one of the frost cannon attacks. Now there are two other locations where this can be, but for now we're focusing on the rotation as opposed to the location of where these will be. So what is going to make your Archglacial life a lot easier is learning how to deal with this attack using Reflect and Resonance as opposed to Devotion. Like, it can be very easy to just Devotion it and move on with the fight, which is totally fine to do, but you run into issues when you have to do back-to-back frost cannons. So if you get back-to-back, the second one, you'll have your Devotion, no worries, you'll always have your Devotion available to use it, because you'll deal with the first one with Reflect and Resonance, and then the second one you can do Devotion, so that you have absolutely no issues there. So if you use Devotion on the first one, obviously the next one you have to deal with it a different way, which you may be less used to. The other benefits of using Reflect and Resonance are you get a full heal to full life points, and you'll also reflect about 20k damage onto the boss, so it's good DPS as well. So we're in the position here, and the ice is going to stop, and we're going to do an anticipate. So this is to stop the stun, swap to our shield, and do a reflect. And you actually have a lot of time. Like, you have a lot of time to be able to get ready for this. So anticipate, reflect, and just wait. You don't even need to do an ability in between when you've done that. You can literally just wait for the first attack to hit you, the second attack to hit you, and then depending on how comfortable you are with flicking on and off your prayer, you can do a resonance with your prayer on. I'd say if you're kind of new to shield switching and prayer switching, then just do a resonance with your prayer on. You're not going to get a full heal, but you'll at least get some heal. And then when you get more comfortable, you can start taking the prayer off as well. And you can see here there's a 2.7k reflect, a 5k reflect, and a 9.5k reflect there. So that's all pretty good damage doing back to the boss. And I've come out of that. I've dealt with the mechanic. I'm safe from my back-to-back, and I'm full HP. So spend time practicing that at lower rages, because it is going to make your life significantly easier as you start to push. Okay, so practicing that mechanic is going to basically mitigate back-to-back cannon. So that is the best way to do it, is to be able to deal with the frost cannon with reflect, resonance, and then go into a devotion. So I'm not going to cover that as a kind of difficult scenario. This scenario here is probably the most difficult because it is ice pillars into minions. And the reason that it's difficult is because, okay, so we're going to deal with the ice pillars, and then we're going to surge through so that we're on the left-hand side of the arena as you look at the boss. Now, normally, when it spawns the minions will stay grouped together because you're normally over here, and the range minions block the melee minions. But when you're on this side of the arena here, what's going to happen is the melee minions are going to spawn closest to you, which means they can come towards you, and they're not going to be grouped together to deal with them, which is annoying because obviously mech chins work on AoE. Now, this isn't the perfect example. I only managed to get kind of like one clip of this, but essentially what you want to do is, so I actually debilitated the boss, and the reason for that was it just, makes it a little bit easier to not have to focus on what the boss is doing if you know it's debilitated for like 10 seconds. So it's not essential, but it's an option, and it's especially kind of useful at certain times in the fight. But anyway, now what you see that I do here is I came back round and kind of came MD to the glacites that don't move, and that was to bring in the melee ones. Now, the hitboxes are obviously a bit messed up at the moment, so this can be a little challenging. And I didn't attack the right one, but you can see that they're all grouped here, and if I'd attacked that middle glacite, I would have been AoEing all of them. Unfortunately, I'm on the wrong one, but you can still see that I'm hitting now the 3 of these ones here. And basically, yeah, what you want to do is just AoE those down with your mech chins and get MD to these lighter coloured ones, because that will bring in the melee ones. One thing you want to be careful of, though, is that these lighter coloured ones, if you stay MD to them too long, can stun you. You can see here that I got bound and stunned for 3 seconds. If that happens, so you got 2 options to deal with that. You can wait for the stun and freedom it, or when you get MD and all of them are around you, you can either rapid fire or do binding shot. That will bind them all in place, which means that you can then step away. So those are kind of your options for dealing with that. As I said, this wasn't a perfect example. I did get the binding shot in there, but only managed to hit 2 of them, which means these ones kind of came with me. But that's essentially one of the better ways to deal with it, is to go MD, do a binding shot or a rapid fire, and yeah, hopefully you should be able to finish them off relatively easily. Okay, so the final variation we're going to talk about is when it spawns minions first. So this is the reason why we do the smoke cloud as it spawns, because we don't want to waste our ultimate. So basically what we can do is smoke cloud, and then the shield will come up straight away, and we know that the minions have spawned and we haven't gone into our ultimate. So what we could do here is, you'll see this is just an example kill. I had to keep suiciding to actually get the spawn, so I just essentially just had my range gear on, but you'll swap into your range gear, mech chins in hand. The minions will always be grouped together, and essentially what you want to do is just go into your threshold abilities. So the best order to do it in would be snipe, needle strike, rapid fire. I do a slightly different order here which doesn't finish them off within the 3 abilities, which I did snipe, I did needle strike, snipe, and then snapshot, which didn't quite finish them off, so you'd be better off doing a rapid fire instead. And then once you've done that, you go straight into your ultimate and start attacking the boss. You can either swap back to mage or you can stick with range. It is up to you. Alright, so as usual, we'll commentate over the top of the kill. So you want to start at wars, drink your potion plus sip, as well as doing your animate dead, and then we're going to go over to the adrenaline crystals and build to 100% or 110% adrenaline. Head over to the boss. You don't need to stall here, you can just join the instance, you should, and then you can surge once and that'll be enough stalling to hold all your adrenaline. Now, as the boss spawns, we're not going to go straight into our ultimate because we want to see if it's going to do the minions first. So we're basically going to attack the boss and smoke cloud it. And by the time we've done that, we'll know whether it's minions or not. So you can see here, wait, smoke cloud, and we know that it's not going to be a minions for the first. Now, because it's coming from the right hand side, we know what this spec is going to be. If it starts coming from the right, it's always going to be frost cannon first. So we can kind of prepare for that. We know we need to be 50% adrenaline by the time the frost cannon comes so that we can reflect. And if you sunshine in that spot, you'll still be in your sunshine, so you can do some damage. So we anticipate, reflect, and then we resonance the last hit. And that's really important because you'll do about 20k damage from that. And then from here, we can just go into, building a rotation around Greater Concentrated Blast. We want to be using Greater Concentrated Blast, Gothic Staff, Asphyxiate, and Wild Magic. Now we can see here that it's coming from the left-hand side. This could be, because it's coming from the left, this is indicative of what the next spec is going to be. So it could either be arms, or it could be the Pillars of Ice, because basically it's not coming from the right as well, so we know that it's not going to be the flurry attack. So in this scenario, we just move over to the side of our sunshine, put another few abilities in. We know at this point that it's going to be Pillars of Ice. Now you can see that I don't actually surge. I found that if you just run, you very rarely get hit by the pillar. And even if you do get hit by it, as long as you're running in the right direction, the max you'll probably take is like 4k. So in this scenario here is a little bit close, and it probably would have been better for me to kind of run this way and then around the pillar. But normally what I do is just take one step towards it and surge. And you can see I didn't really take that much damage there. And you may take 1 or 2 hits, but at this enrage, it's not going to one hit you. So a couple of abilities and then surge again. There was a little delay there, so again took a hit. But these pillars are not something to be too afraid of until you start getting up to like the 7, 8, 900% enrage. So at this point, we know that it's gone into the flurry attack. So it's all about making sure that we're correctly prayer switching whilst doing as much damage as we can. So I decided to take a res here because I know that it's not going to be Frost Cannon coming up because we've already had it in this rotation, which means that I can safely use my res and it'll be off cooldown for the next Frost Cannon. Now these, obviously the minions are probably the most annoying thing to deal with when you're maging. If you're in a Sunshine Ultimate, it's not too bad because you can just do a Detonate and a Dragon Breath and that should finish them off. But if you're outside of an ultimate, they can be really difficult or really frustrating to deal with. So you can see here that we're still in our sunshine. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into our detonate. So we detonate on the minions and do a Dragon Breath. And you see that pretty much clears all of them, and then we can finish off this minion here. Now, if I was outside of that ultimate, what I would have done is swapped over to my range gear and used my chins. Because it just makes it significantly easier to clear those minions, because once you've used those 2 AoE abilities, you've basically got nothing left to clear them, and if you're not doing that double damage in the sunshine, you're not going to clear them with just both of them. So we know now that it's going to be the arms special attack. We can see that the boss has stopped attacking us. We're in the first rotation and we know that it's the last one left. So in this scenario here, sunshine I know is on cooldown. So swap over to my range gear, and this means I've got an ultimate to deal with the arms. So we go into our ultimate, target cycle and change over, and then we just build to basically a threshold ability and just dump a rapid fire in. And this Ruby bolts are really nice here because if you get a proc early on, it can hit like a 10k. Scripture of When is really nice here because it hits 6 or 7k on the arms, and it just makes it super easy to clear. So now, you know, we're in our ultimate, we may as well stay range in terms of what we're camping. You see we get those Ruby Bolt procs, and you know, we've got another minions. This doesn't really matter at all because we're in our range gear. We can just put our chins on and clear them out really quickly. You see there, I just went into a rapid fire and it cleared them in one rapid fire. Another option is to do snipe into snapshot, and that will almost always clear them in a 2 cycle ability rotation. Now, because I'm outside my ultimate now, you know, I decide to swap back into my mage gear to deal with this final minion. You know, I'm going to go into another ultimate because my sunshine is off cooldown, finish off that minion, and then we can start killing the boss. So now we've done minions in this next rotation, which means we don't necessarily have to go back into our range gear if we don't want to. So again, we can dodge the pillars of ice by just running to the edge of the room. You can see there that I do a defensive in between and put on my shield. Take one step to turn around and surge. Normally I don't get hit by these. I was on a bit of a delayed world when I was recording this, which is why you can see me getting hit a few times. But it's kind of a good showcase because it just shows that, you know, even if you do get hit at this enrage, you're going to be okay. So we surge through, and then we're going to put another couple of abilities onto the boss, and then surge again to the other side of the room. Again, this is just world delay that's making me get hit by those as opposed to anything else. So now, you know, it's going into arms. Sunshine's on cooldown, which means, you know, it gives us the option to go into our death swiftness. I'm just misclicking here because you know what click boxes are like at the moment. So into our death swiftness, and again, build to threshold ability. I think at this point, yeah, I've already done a decent amount of damage, so just do the snapshot to finish it off, and then we can start attacking the boss with the rest of our thresholds. So we'll go into a rapid fire shortly. It's a nice time to snipe there because you know, you can't damage the boss, but you can get the snipe off once the damage invulnerability is gone. Now you can see I don't have 100% accuracy here, and I'm not quite sure whether there's a way to get it. I mean, if you brought a full switch, you'd obviously have 100% accuracy. That Ganodermic helmet that I'm wearing is, you know, hindering the accuracy there. So you could bring a full switch if you wanted to help improve that. But I just left it as is because it felt, you know, it didn't feel like it was harming the kills too much. So we're just dealing with this flurry back into our mage gear to, you know, do another ultimate. We can see the frost cannon is coming here, so we're going to anticipate. Now, this is why I like to bring a spirit shield, because I'm pretty low HP at the moment, but the frost cannon is only going to hit me for about 2 to 3k life points at this point. No more than that, really, which means that final res is going to heal me up to full, and I don't really need to eat any food. So anticipate, reflect, and then take a res on that last one. You can see we're doing, you know, about 20k damage. We can then go back into some more threshold abilities whilst we're in our sunshine, and you know, we've got 100k left. The minions come. Okay, so we're in our sunshine. We don't need to swap to our range gear. We're going to go into our detonate, and then I don't have Dragon Breath available just then, but I actually messed up my detonate and I didn't release it before I did my corruption shot, which was a little bit annoying. So anyway, that was just kind of a bit of a mess up there. So I swap into my range gear and just do a snapshot and also a rapid fire, which finishes them off, which means that I can then focus on the bolstered glacier. Now I've noticed that the affinity is pretty bad with range in this setup, so it's better to swap back to your magic gear if you're struggling with that affinity on that bolstered glacier. So yeah, we get arms into our sunshine, target cycle. You don't really need to worry about getting hit too much damage by that bolstered glacier. It just doesn't do any damage really. Finish off the arms, finish off the glacier. 100k left, so yeah, here we're dumping kind of thresholds, balancing it around that great concentrated blast ability, making sure we're doing our wild magics and asphyxiates, making sure we're doing Gothic staff specials when we can. And it's going into a flurry now, and this is obviously a really good opportunity to do damage, because as long as you get your prayer flicks right, it doesn't do a lot of damage. You've got animate dead and tank armor, which means that even if you miss a flick, you're not going to get one shot. And yeah, it's just a nice kind of spec to end with. Alright, so that is going to be it for this video, guys. It was a little bit difficult just due to the dynamic nature of the boss fight, but hopefully there's a few tips and tricks in there that will help you. Overall, if you're kind of going for this budget setup, I would kind of recommend hybrid. It does give you access to those dual ultimate abilities, which helps during the boss fight, especially during the DPS checks. Having range as well is also quite nice. So Mage is good as a beginner learning style because you get the damage reduction from the animate dead, as well as the tank armor, which is really nice for kind of learning the flurry phase, but also having the option to do range in terms of the mechanized chins for clearing the minions is also great as well. So I would recommend kind of testing this out. Probably not suitable for people that have kind of better gear, because you can just like get by. You know, if you've got like Ascensions and a Dark Bow EOF and a Siren God Bow, then you probably just want to be ranging. But that's not who this kind of guide is aimed for. But yeah, I hope that you kind of enjoyed this video, found it useful. Overall, my opinions on the boss are I really like it. I've done about 650 kills. I've got 1 core, so some people might say I've been a little lucky there and to get a core out of that. But I really like how chill it is, like especially at the lower in rages. You can just normally I just streak until I'm like, okay, like the kill times are too long now. I'm just going to reset. That tends to be somewhere between like the 750 and 900% mark. And have a couple 100 million loot, which is pretty nice to just claim and then reset. I actually did get a scripture of when whilst recording this video. I'll probably put a screenshot on it somewhere. That was pretty lucky, just a 500% claim doing this. But yeah, as I said, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the boss, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.